Welcome to Modern Commerce, guys. Here with another video for you. Before we get into anything, go ahead and remember to like, comment, subscribe, click the bell so you get everything that our channel has to offer. I'm Casey here with the man John. John, how you doing?
I am doing well. How are you? How are you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good, John. I got a cat looking through my window at me right now. I don't know this cat, but that's okay. We're going to cruise right on past that because today we're talking about offer crafting.
Yes, offer crafting. So the big question that that's sort of like launch padding this whole discussion is like brands saying like, should I discount? Does it cheapen my brand? Right? Like I don't really want a discount. Like obviously everybody doesn't want to discount. They just want to sell their products at full price. And I don't know if I'm just getting a bunch of people who are buying on sale or if I'm actually, getting quality customers who will buy from me again or what. Like they don't want to cheapen the brand, right?
Right. Nobody wants to cheapen their brand.
And they want more margin.
Of course,
so,
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and let's actually just really quick take a pit stop at margin, because discounting, and I'm not going to say that I'm pro discounting or anti discounting, it completely depends, but margin has nothing to do with discounting, right? Margin is purely how you price your products and what you buy them for, right? So, you could sell, and there's going to be, not everybody has complete price elasticity, right? Where nobody has context for the price of their product, but you can still have the same margin discounting and just marking up the pre-discounted price. So yeah, that's like maybe thing one is like, don't worry about margin. Margin has nothing to do with discounting. So let's actually just talk about like, does it cheapen the brand and should we do it? So yes, I think here's my thought on this is that I don't necessarily believe you should or shouldn't discount. What discounting is it's their reason to buy now, right? So whether somebody's going to buy from you or not, all depends on like what level of desire. It's like, I call it just like the give ask balance. Like look at it like a teeter totter, like a weight, right? Like, or a scale. Like, is there enough desire? Like, is what they're going to get, what you're giving them, enough for what they're asking, right? Like you should be doing everything you can to weight that balance in your favor. And all discounting does is it just adds a little bit to your side of the scale, right? Or yeah, it adds a little bit to your side of the scale so that to their side of the scale so that the give outweighs the ask just a little bit more. That's all discounting does. Because like I said, it has nothing to do with the margins. It's purely perceptual. Right, so you're just making them feel like you're giving them a deal, and they're like, yeah, I better do this because I'm also getting this deal, right? Like that's kind of the last justification sometimes people need. So I'm not saying that you have to or you shouldn't, but that's the function it's performing. And there are other ways to do that, and there are other ways to like build the value prop more without doing that, right? So I mean, really the core principle here is like you need to stack your value prop in favor of irresistible, right? In toward irresistible. So they're like, how could I not do this right now? Like stop what I'm doing, get out of line at Starbucks, flush the toilet and go find my wallet. I need to do it now. That's what you're trying to do here. And discounting is just like one little kind of pebble or rock on top of that.
Right. So it's just like everything in all of our videos, basically. There's no one size fits all solution for every brand, every situation. Context matters for sure. But I do think that we get a little nebulous maybe talking about it. I do kind of want to hold your feet to the fire a little bit here, because if somebody asks me, inherently does discounting devalue your brand? I mean, I lean no. Would you say just generally speaking, that's untrue, that it devalues your brand by offering some discounts sometimes?
Yeah, so this is maybe a smaller sub point of what I was going to launch into next, and that is like, what kinds of brands is that like a really good rock to use? You know what I mean? So ideally, if you're going to discount it, you want to be the type of brand where it really like using a discount really strongly improves your value. It's a heavier rock, right? It really improves your value prop. And you're in a market or a niche or your type of brand won't be devalued by discounting, right? So, if you are saying that, hey, we are a high-end watch brand, and there are only 50 of these ever made, and normally they're $500,000, but you know, today it's 20% off for $400,000, right? Like I'm using kind of a ridiculous example. It's
Right.
like, well, why? You know what I mean? Like, I guess it's $100,000 off. That's cool, but like, you know, maybe you really should probably just be building the value prop of that multiple $100,000 thing that you're trying to sell a little bit more. And on that product, there is complete price elasticity. Like in the watch game, there's everything from $10 watches to what I was just talking about, right? So there's like, you know, it's all about like what it is. There are certain things that it's like, you know, you can only do this product so well type of thing, right? So like, yeah, I mean, a lot of times it's commodities, right? So if you're selling even like deodorant, for example, like there are a lot of people who go really high priced on deodorant or soap or something like that because and they really build up that value prop. But at the end of the day, like you get to barriers there. You get to barriers of like, this is a product people always buy. And if yours is 3 times as much, 4 times as much, like you're really getting into barriers of like, is it that, like, are you convincing them it's that much better? And I think it's exponential the further you get away from what like they normally buy. So in those situations where you're commodities and people have like really good like anchor points for what your price should be, then discounting is one of those really effective rocks, and it doesn't hurt you too much, I don't think. And you know, or if you just don't really have any value props and your brand's whole thing is that you're a price war, like if you're wish.com or something like that, then yeah, discounting doesn't help you at all. That is your brand. Or doesn't hurt you at all. That is your brand. So think about your people, right? Like there are some people who are like, you know, they're going to buy on sale. They're going to love you. They're going to buy on sale next time again. You know, and then think about your product and people's context for your product.
So if I'm taking what you're saying, right, and a little bit maybe from my own experience, it sounds like for the most part, you're saying that discounting isn't inherently bad, but situationally, it's not probably the move for everybody.
Right.
You can create scenarios where it's not the best move, but generally speaking, you're for it maybe. But I do know another issue we see pop up in agency work a lot of times is brand owners don't want to just get stuck in a race to the bottom where they're slashing margins all day long, competing with competitors, trying to just beat that rock bottom price until they essentially, it doesn't matter how many sales they make, they're not making money, you know, and gonna have to close up and start a new business again or something anyway.
You're describing like car sales, right? Where it's like, yeah, especially new car sales, man, where it's like, okay, I'm gonna buy a new whatever, you know, Toyota Camry. I'll use a super vanilla car. I'm gonna buy a new Toyota Camry. You're gonna buy a new Toyota Camry, man. Like, what are you looking? You're just looking for the best. You're not looking if this dealership's better than that. It's the same Toyota Camry everywhere, right? If you know the model, like you're really just looking for the best price. So there are situations like that where it's like you don't really have a choice. You got to race to the bottom. But for the most part, like I'm not really a big fan of trying to race to the bottom. I'm a big fan of like putting your margins where you need to be in order to pay for traffic if you're paying for traffic, or putting your margins where you need to be in order to work with your traffic source and in order to come up with good promotions, whether those are discounts or not. Like you don't have to discount to do a good promotion or to make a good offer, right? Like it could be other things, which we'll get to in a second. But yeah, like to me, especially if you're going direct to consumer and you're paying for traffic, you need margin, man. You need margin to pay for traffic. If you're on Amazon or retail or something like that, then yeah, you might have to compete a little bit on price, or you might have to figure out how you can differentiate yourself from all the other products sort of on the virtual shelf. And that's the same thing in retail, right? Like how are you differentiating from all the other products on the shelf? So yeah, like I don't know, does that answer your question sort of?
I think it does. I think that you're speaking a lot to value and offer propositions. And personally, I've just seen that a lot of specifically brand owners, they see that kind of in a silo as price and discounts rather than like all the other factors that make up an offer and all the other factors that make up value. So it's just a more complex equation than just like my price is X and it needs to be X minus 5 for them to buy. Otherwise, like, you know, they're not going to buy.
A way to say it is this. Price is under the umbrella of offer. Offer is under the umbrella of value proposition.
Right.
And so really you want the value proposition to be strong, right? And that's what we mean. A lot of people, when they say make an irresistible offer or whatever, what they really mean is make the value proposition so strong that people feel like they need to stop what they're doing to buy from you right now. Like if you can do that, that's huge, right? Kind of stack the deck and stacks the deck in your favor a ton. Yeah, so but then within that value prop is like the actual offer you're making. Because it, like, you know, if you've built up the value a lot, like your creatives, your landing pages, whatever, like all the information people have consumed about your product or products or brand or whatever has built up the value a ton, then, you know, then you make a really strong offer, then your value prop is really strong, right? But then if you've built up the value a ton and you don't even make a very strong offer, a lot of times, like that's like the marketing, that's like copywriting, that's understanding your consumer psychology and stuff like that, right? Like that's understanding what they want and how to show them how this is going to give them what they want, right? So, you know, you can, that's all part of value prop, like the value you're building and the offer you're making on that value. So really what I want is I want people to be thinking, like, think about it like this, like, most of us have been in a situation like this where we're considering a purchase, whether online or offline or whatever kind of purchase, and we're learning about it, you know, maybe either from somebody verbally talking to us, or we're reading about it, or watching a video, or listening to something. We're learning about it and we're hearing about it and we're like, that's cool. Oh, wow, that's cool. Yeah, and it's building up in our mind. And in our mind, we're thinking like, oh, I bet this is going to be expensive. I bet this is going to be expensive. And then the offer comes up, which price is a part of. But the offer comes up and we're like, oh, actually, that's really good. Like for everything for all that value that's just been built, like that's very, very affordable, right? So that's what you want people to think when they see your offering. And that price is a part of that, but it's not the only part.
Right, and that's why I wanted to just jump in. Sorry to try to interrupt you there for a second, but I think if you built that priming factor of somebody saying, oh yeah, they've built this value and I bet this is going to be expensive, is it really that bad then for the actual standard price before any given promotion? Is it bad that price is expensive? Is it bad that it's what they expected it to be? I don't think so. I think that's kind of good. I think you want to build the value so that when they see the price, they're like, that's pretty much what I expected. But oh, hey, they're giving me this particular offering right now for whatever reason. Maybe it's limited time. Maybe it's because of, you know, the ad I clicked through or whatever the case may be, or, you know, it's a certain kind of promotion for whatever reason, you know. But that standard price, that the original price, I think it should match up with all the offer you've built up, and because then you should price a product ultimately at what you want the customer to pay, and then if you need to kind of sweeten the deal with offers to make them incentivized to buy right away, buy now, not keep putting it off, like you were kind of saying, that person in line or whatever the case may be. I think that's where offers kind of come into play.
Right. So that's, you know, and I'm a big fan of, like, you know, a formula, a very practical application of this, and it's just pure discounting. And we'll get into some other like ways to build an offers with some creative things in a second. But a very practical application of this from a pure discounting perspective, using you know, a channel like Facebook or YouTube as your traffic source, you know, so video ads, is a situation where you're selling something that you've used a video ad or you've used something to like really build up the value of, like, people are like, that's super cool. Oh, that's cool. Like, oh, it does that. Like, right. Like, so you've done this thing where you've anchored them in, or you kind of push them into this space where they're like, oh yeah, this is what you want them to think. This is probably expensive. And then when they see it, like, oh, this is not so bad. Right. So then, like, I'm a big fan of, you know, building a ton of margin into your product. So you have, if you're going direct to consumer and you're paying for traffic, 80% plus margins, 90% plus margins. And then you're able to kind of like build up that value. And when they see that price, that is an 80 to 90% markup, they're like, that sounds about right. You know, that is what I expected. I expected it's a little expensive. And then the price is just slashed. So your margins are still 70%, you know, but they're like, oh, there's a deal going on right now. So yeah, that crossed out price is what I expected, but oh, this price is way better. And now, like, that's what I mean when I say it's just a tool in the value proposition, you know, so it's like price, offer, value proposition, right?
And that that those expectations are based off of market value, right? What people are used to seeing out in the marketplace. So when you've built up that value, you know, they see equal value to things they've seen before, and they go, well, I'm used to seeing this price out there based on the market. So I mean, it's kind of just the way capitalism works, right? Like market is more or less dictating the price. That doesn't mean you can't, you know, shine it up a little bit with something a little special for them.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it, is that I typically find that, like, yeah, I mean, should I discount? Should I not discount? You know, it completely depends, but what you do have to do is make a strong value proposition.
Right.
So let's talk about some of the stuff we've been alluding to here, is like, how can we create strong, so again, looking under this of like, okay, price is under the umbrella of offer, offer is under the umbrella of value proposition. Today, we're not really talking that much about the like value building side of the value proposition. We're talking more about the offer side of the value proposition. And so let's talk about, you know, what else is under that umbrella of offer besides price, or, you know, what are some other ways to build a strong offer without discounting, or with, you know, without like changing the price too much. You know what I mean? So let's hit on a couple of those. So first up for me is like additions. So adding things in, you know, and this is like, you know, bonuses or free gifts or anything like that. You know, something that's really strong is like just things that have like a really good perceptual value, but like aren't really that expensive to you. So, you know, we have a brand that we work with that they have a product that really, it's like, it's got a really good perceptual value because it's a really top-notch product, and it's kind of like unique. You know, it's a product that everybody in their market uses, but this is like a unique version of it. So it's got a really high perceptual value and really good margins on that high perceptual value, but it's actually pretty cheap for the brand. Like, that's an amazing free gift, because like now you can go to saying like, you know, let's say we have one of those that we charge $40 for, and it only actually costs us $7, you know, landed. So it's got amazing margins on what we charge, and maybe not a ton of people buy it because it's like, yeah, $40, it's a little expensive, but they believe it's worth $40, right? That's an amazing free gift, because now it's like, if we've got this $100 product that we're like, we want to sell it for $100, then we can go, all right, well, it was priced at $120, but right now it's only $100. That's not a great strong offer, but we're also throwing in this $40 product for free. So now we've got $160 worth of value for only $100, you know, and then if you scotch on that a little bit, maybe we're only $80, and we're really cooking with oil, right? Or if you can throw in another little free product, free value, something like that. Like, that's what I mean, is throwing in things that don't cost you a ton, but raise your perceptual value quite a bit, because then we're crossing out 160 and putting 99, or we're crossing out 200 and putting 99. So one of the examples we like to show a lot is an outdoor brand that we used. They had a $89 like first customer offer, right? So it's $90 for first time customers, but through all the value that they were able to build within the offer, they were able to cross out like $349 as the price. So thinking about that value or offer in terms of like, what is the value that you're crossing out? That's a believable value. Maybe it's high, people wouldn't maybe pay that, but it's a believable value. They believe that it's worth that. And like, how much can you knock that down? So yeah, $90 seems high for what they were selling. If I just told you what they're selling for $90, you'd probably be like, what? Why would people buy that for $90? But all of the different bonuses and things that they were able to throw in made it like this $350 offer for $90. So that's kind of what you're looking for, is opportunities to like really grow that like crossed out like market value price without growing your cost too much, so that you can just knock more off of that. And that's really offer crafting and building a strong offer.
Right. And in that example, you know, outdoor brands, you know, people who spend money on outdoor things, you know, they look at that as their gear, you know, and it's not crazy for people to spend $300-400 on their gear. So when they see that original price, it doesn't strike them as like odd, or as like a thing you're just trying to, you know, like you can put any price and cross it out and then put the actual price you're going to charge them.
Real, like they've got to believe it. Yeah.
Right. It seems believable. They've seen, again, based off the market, they've looked at other gear and they're like, yeah, I mean, for a couple pieces of gear, you know, like the bundle they're offering here, you know, yeah, I would expect to pay $300. They're offering it to me for 90, you know, that seems like a good value exchange.
Right. And it's just, yeah, it's the items they're selecting in the bundle. So like the main product within the bundle, because another thing is like, you don't want to make them believe that you can actually sell, like, especially in the outdoor market where people are like, I want nice stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to buy cheap stuff. Like the beauty of this offer was like, it believably could have been $350, but at the same time you look at it and be like, oh yeah, 90, I don't feel like I'm getting cheap stuff because of the things that they're putting in. So one of the things, just like quick hack, quick trick here that they used was what we call like the second store gift card. So this was an e-commerce brand that actually had a second store, a second e-commerce store with other outdoor gear that wasn't like competing. It wasn't the same stuff as what they were selling in their main store. And they, like, one of the things that they were doing, and you know, I don't know, call it sketchy or whatever, but they were giving away as part of the offer like a free $50 or $100, I can't remember how much, gift card to the second store. The caveat on the gift card was that you had to spend a certain amount in the second store, right? And so they were really like, I think it was a free $50 gift card with orders over $100 in the second store. So still a great deal, but like if somebody goes and does that on the second store, they still actually make a little bit. So they're taking super low margins on that second store in order to build their value prop here, right? So free $100 gift card with orders over $200 in outdoor, like that's not that hard, right? Like if we're selling high-end tents or something like that, you know, 200 is easy to, you know, that's your lowest end product, right? So $100 gift card for $200 product, like if they buy that and they get $100 off on that second store, they still made a couple points on it, not a huge margin, but they're able to raise their value prop over here by $100, you know, without costing themselves anything. So that was like a really good like element of that offer that made it work and made people believe that the thing I'm buying here isn't cheap, right? Like I'm not cheapening this product on a product that I want something nice, you know, from, you know, whatever it was, a sleeping bag or something like that.
Right, and that's an advantage that in particular that brand had, having a second store kind of in the same sort of vertical that maybe not every brand has. Doesn't mean you can't try that yourself if you're watching. But I do think kind of the fundamentals that it boils down to is knowing your numbers, knowing your margins, and understanding the marketplace, like perceptual value of the items that you're selling, you know, and just doing the dance there. Again, not one size fits all, vertical to vertical, but knowing that about your business and about your customers and about the market you kind of are selling to.
Yep.
So that actually is a good segue, I think, into the next point that I wanted to touch on, which is like value tiers. You know, basically, like you might have seen it marketed as like, you know, spend more, save more, you know, buy more, save more, whatever you want to call it. You know, spend $50, you know, get 10% off, spend $100, get 25% off, you know. And again, it's going to matter. You need to know your numbers so that you know you're still continuing to make money even when they hit those higher thresholds and activate a higher discount, you know, whether it's a code or another mechanism, whatever mechanism you use. Again, we're not really focusing on mechanisms for things like that, and this just offers themselves. But that can be a really handy trick in raising AOVs. When we run big sales, you know, a lot of times we, you know, why wouldn't you? You know, if you're already planning on running like I said, a 10% off flash sale, let's just say, you know, when you spend $50 or more, right? Like, okay, cool. Like that's an offer, right? Like that's better than no offer, no extra offer, no discount, right? People are gonna buy more than they normally would. Stands to reason, at least. And if they're gonna buy, you know, they aren't gonna land at $50 square on the nose. You know, they're gonna buy some things they want. They're gonna maybe land at 60, 65 bucks, let's say, right? Well, then it's, you know, depending on the pricing of your products, they might be one product away from a $100 total, which they otherwise wouldn't buy. But if you put, you know, they're going to get a little bit extra off by crossing a $100 threshold, well, they might do it. And they might not end up right at 100. They might end up at 110. And based off kind of the reasonable estimations you can make on how orders are going to come in, you say, well, we will actually make more on $110 orders at 20-25% off than we would at a $60 order at 10% off, you know.
Yeah.
Or we just need the cash. Well, there's lots of reasons why you
and yeah, cash or liquidating product. But like, yeah, it's like you know, maybe your margins aren't as good, maybe if you just looked at it from a percentage aspect, you'd make 60 or 65% margins on that 10% off order at $50, and maybe you only make 50 or 55 on that $100 order, or 45 even, but your volume of profit is higher, right? So like if you do the math on that, your volume of profit is higher. And a lot of times that's really what matters. Like if you're paying for traffic, for example, you know, that traffic price didn't change and maybe your margins got worse, but you actually had more profit to buy that traffic. That's really what mattered.
And I think one effect that people forget about too is, you know, always how is the customer feeling? You know, how happy is a customer to make that exchange? That's kind of back to the value, you know, the give ask proposition. If somebody gets a great deal on something where they spend $50, that's cool. But if they feel like they got a great deal on something where they spend $110, well, just by the sheer nature that they coughed up $110, they're just as happy, you know, quality wise. They're probably way happier with that. They're like, I got twice as much stuff as I was even planning on getting. They're happy to do it. I think that increases their likelihood of coming back and buying from your store.
If your brand is good, if your products are good and stuff like that, and now they're using more of them than they would have before, they're probably gonna, like, they're more likely to be a longer term customer then. Exactly.
Whether it's, you know, if you're golfing and you got an extra product in their golf bag, or, you know, you're around the house, they just see an extra one of your products every day. Like, yeah, it's going to increase the likelihood they're thinking about your brand more often, hopefully coming back and revisiting and buying from you again.
Right. Okay, so then one other one I wanted to hit on is like, and this is all, you know, this one is maybe a little bit more time limited. A lot of the stuff we've talked about, people could use in a time limited sense, like as a sale, or they could use as an evergreen offer if they wanted. But what we're talking about now, I think, you know, it's a little more, it just doesn't work as well as it works a lot better as a time limited offer. And this is like, I don't know how to explain this other than like fun promotional things they're really just engagement driving, but like that engagement leads people to buying. So, you know, a couple examples that we use are like cash in orders is a really common one. And this is, again, like you know, it takes some principles from what we were talking about a second ago, where it might not actually cost you that much per order, but it gives a huge perceptual value in that, like, it adds a little bit of like a giveaway or like a lottery. I don't want to say lottery because that's, you know, there's some legal stuff around using lotteries on your site, but
it's creative.
It's creative, it's different, and it gives people like a big upside. So like, you know, a brand that we know uses like a cash and orders thing where literally every single order, they're going to drop at least $1 in there. In a certain number of orders, they're going to drop 5, and a certain number, they're going to drop 10, 20, 50. The highest for them, and they're a big high volume store, when they do cash and orders, they drop $5,000 into one of the orders, right? $5,000. Like, that's a big volume store. You don't have to do that. Like, we've had stores that do this and their top is 100. And so when they advertise it, they just say everybody gets cash, somebody is going to get $100.
Yeah, and I think to some people watching this video, that sounds crazy, right? Because it sounds crazy to me, and I've seen how it backs out for them and how it makes sense. So they're going to drop $5,000 into a random order, but really, that's just proof of concept. If the big players in the markets are willing to drop $5K into one order randomly, I mean, think to how much that affects sales on their site during that promotion. I mean, they're flooded with sales. They're going to sell through whatever they want. I mean,
yeah, and they've worked out the math, right? They know how much cash total they're likely to give away.
And it's not, they don't just run that once. They kind of can, that's one of their greatest hits. They come back and they play it every couple of months, maybe, you know?
I mean, probably every month at this point, you know, but like,
and they have data on how that goes, makes it easier to be like, yeah, we can drop 5K into a random order. That's fine. We can drop $100, you know, prizes into different orders.
After they do it a few times, they know about how much cash total they're going to give away, you know, give or take a little bit. And so they know that, like, hey, even with that $5,000, give or take, we're going to give away $10,000 to $13,000 of cash, but we're going to do $100,000 of sales that weekend. So if you think about that from a margin perspective, it didn't eat into their margin that much. Or maybe they're going to do $200,000 in sales that weekend, right? Like, they're eating into their margin by 6%, but it's this very high perceptional value thing where, like, somebody's going to get $5,000, right? So that's a big store, right? They're going to do $200,000 in a weekend. That's a big store. So contextualize that for however big you are. Maybe you're bigger than that, or maybe you're smaller than that, but we've seen it work on smaller scale too, where it's like, yeah, even though we're giving somebody a, you know, $100, you know, across the whole weekend, we're probably only going to give away $300, we're going to do about 100 orders, and in total, we're going to make $1,500. So that they haven't cut into their margins too much, or, you know, maybe 1,500, that's 20%, that's a big cut, but like, you know, maybe it's $3,000 that they're going to make over the weekend. They're only going to give away $300 in cash, but being able to say everyone gets cash in their orders, somebody gets $100. It's just a strong one. So ones that other ones that are good in that same spirit are like, and these are holiday themed, but like you can vary them, get creative here, is we've had brands, especially like fashion apparel brands, things like that, say like all green, like on St. Patrick's Day, all green stuff is on sale, right? So like go find the green stuff, hurry because it sells out, right? And that's the time limited element of it, is that it's like, yeah, it's only today and it's going to sell out. I've seen one that was like, this was a super cool promotion, is they hid Easter eggs during Easter. They had Easter eggs all over their site. So if you found a product page that had an Easter egg on it, you added that product to cart, there was going to be a surprise discount on that product in the cart. If you found no discount, that means everything had been taken out of, all the discounts have been taken out of that egg. So you had to go find another one, you know, or something like that. But the kicker is you've still got that product sitting in your cart. So it actually ended up being super successful for them. And people added, still kept buying the products even after the eggs were like quote unquote empty, because those products were still sitting in their cart and they were like, oh, I gotta hurry and get like one of the discounts that's in these other eggs, right? And so it was complete surprise. They said, yeah, each egg contains a surprise discount and it contains a limited number of them. So you gotta hurry, you know? So it's like, kind of creates this like engagement frenzy, gets people moving around your site a lot, gets people like, oh, I need to buy quick, you know? That kind of stuff is really good.
And I know at least I'll speak for myself, I'm a big believer in soft touches, you know, equates to hard touches or sales, whatever you want to call it, you know. But yeah, engagement leads to purchasing, you know, it just does. If you have people click, I think I used the web analogy an episode or two ago, where it's like, you get people playing around in your web, you know, sooner or later, you're going to capitalize on that prospect. You know, it's just more likely to happen anyway. And given the law of large numbers, you know, it's going to show up on your P&L at the end of the month, you know.
Right. And those things are just, they're attention grabbers, right? Like they're different kinds of promotions that like get, like, people don't see them all the time. It's not just a discount, you know, it's not just an Easter sale. It's not just a St. Patty's Day sale. It's, you know, it's a different thing, right? And so it's cool, right? It's fun.
And I know we're not talking specifically about marketing angles on these things, but I've found that when there's something fun on the back end that, you know, people are more likely to engage with, like an Easter egg hunt or whatever, you're find something green, you know, those are the scenarios where, I mean, I don't necessarily endorse clickbait, right? But if you get somebody to your site based off of something halfway clickbaity, let's say, but then they're happy to engage with that thing on the back end, even if they don't buy, they're not mad about how you got
it. They're happy you clickbaited them. So that's kind of what I was saying. Like, those things lend themselves to good marketing angles, not because you're really building the value prop that much, but because you can just get more attention top of funnel, right? Like your ads stop more people in the scroll, your emails catch more people's attention. And a lot of times all you really have to do is just say what you're doing, or say, yeah, something that just alludes to what you're doing and people are curious enough. You know,
right.
And so, like, again, law of large numbers, you don't even have to build up the value prop, because you get so many more people in that, like, and then the value prop, like, you're sort of like you're telling them the offer, and that already is sort of building up the value prop, because people are reading the offer and they're like, these guys are kind of cool, like this brand's kind of fun, you know what I mean? So they just get that feel. So yeah, I mean, stuff like that, cash and orders, just creative stuff that you can come up with, and they don't even have to discount their products when they do that.
Right. Yeah. And again, I'll touch on this. I say it, but I feel the need to keep saying it. So these aren't one size fits all solutions, you know, pertaining to any particular brand in any particular vertical. There's going to be some nuance to how you craft certain things. We're talking about general ideas like have fun offers, build up good value prop. You know, don't be afraid to have the initial price of your products be what they are worth, you know, market value wise. Don't race to the bottom on your pricing necessarily. A lot of those things can be applied pretty generally, but again, it matters. The context matters, you know, what market you're in. So if you have any particular questions for us that we can help you implement these into your own brand, you know, drop a comment. We're pretty good at answering comments, you know, and the other stuff, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you can see a follow-up on you know, if we get a good brand story, somebody kicks us a nice story about how they implemented something, you know, we'll be happy to share that with people too.
Share your brand, yeah.
Yeah. So John, I know we're short on time today, and I've kind of made it a little bit of a tradition here to give you the parting shot, just because you got away with words, man. So what would you say is our parting shot today?
Yeah, I think I have a good one. So I'm actually just gonna talk about like a really strong example of how a brand I know stacks the deck in their favor in terms of the whole value prop umbrella. And we're gonna hit on different elements we've talked about today. So this brand, first and foremost, so first of all, like, they sell commodities. They sell hats, shirts, boots, knives, things like that, right? And they have a market, right? Their market is like, people who are into like diesel trucks and stuff like that. Like they sell that kind of stuff. They don't sell a lot of stuff related to diesel trucks. They sell that kind of stuff to people who are into diesel trucks, which is kind of a cool way to sell commodities. And this is how they do it. So first and foremost, they use, celebrities. They use their brand is owned by some guys who have a TV show about building custom diesel trucks. And so, you know, they're celebrities within this market. So there we're talking about like the marketing value building side of the value prop, right? Like that's a really good way to build value is to just have that celebrity, and it's a good way to get attention, right? So that's like thing one that they do. Thing two that they do is they run a giveaway model where every $5 you spend on their site, you get entered to win a custom built diesel truck by these guys. That's usually worth somewhere between $70,000 and $100,000, right? Like it's a nice truck and it looks sick. Like, you know, like they show pictures of it and everything like that. It looks super cool. And they've got, again, going back to like the value building side of it, they've got tons of footage of like people who won these trucks in the past and stuff like that. So it's legit, you know, it's legit. And they're using celebrities again, so you know it's legit, right? And so that's something they're adding into the offer. You know, they don't even have to lower their price because it's like every $5 you spend gets you entered to win this truck. Like, you really want that hat on sale, or do you want the extra entries, you know, for buying at full price? So that's thing one that they do. And then thing two that they do is exactly what we were talking about a second ago. Every weekend, they have like some reason for people to buy right now with like a fun promotion like cash in orders or a free knife in every order, or they have like a new collection or product drop or something like that that's limited edition. And they just do stuff like this every weekend, right? And so it's like for a month they run this giveaway. Every $5 somebody spends in the store for a whole month straight, that they're getting one entry to win this truck. And so there are people who legit just come back and buy every weekend on every promotion, right? Because they're trying to win a truck ultimately. So if you think about what they've done there, they're selling like a hat like what Casey is wearing right now, right? Like a standard snapback hat for 35, 40 bucks. You know, this hat costs them $5 or $6, but they've built in a lot of and they're not even discounting it. Like there's no discount, there's no sale, right? They're just saying like they've built up this offer by saying like, yeah, you're getting a free knife with it this weekend, and you're getting 8 entries into the truck giveaway. Like you're getting 8 entries to win this truck, and they've already built up the value prop because like this is the same hat that dude on your favorite TV show wears, right? So like they've just stacked the value prop deck in their favor so much that like they don't really even have to discount. They already like, that's just a really good example of what I mean by like offer, you know, prices under the umbrella of offer. They charge a really high price because they've made a really strong offer. And even outside of that offer, they've built a really strong value prop. So the deck is super stacked in their favor, you know, and that's what I mean when I say like, that's the kind of thing somebody stops like, I'm going to get out of line at the grocery store so I can like take a second and buy something off the site. Or, you know, I'm on the toilet when I scroll across this and I don't have my wallet. I need to like get off the toilet and go get my wallet, right? Like, not to be crude, but like that is what I mean, is you need that kind of like really like pause on my life for a second because this is such a strong value prop. You know, and then they back that up with strong products. You know, the products people receive are really good, solid quality products. And they're happy because it's the same stuff that their favorite people wear, right? Like it's like when you're playing sports, when I'm, you know, I play basketball, And I like wearing the shoes my favorite player wears. Like I like the Dames, you know, I like Donovan Mitchell's shoes, right? Those are my favorite players. Like, even if they're not the most comfortable shoes, like I would rather wear the Dames than LeBron's, even if LeBron's are more comfortable, because I like Dame, right? So it's the same thing here, right? Like they've built up the value prop that way.
Yeah, that's a great brand story and strategy you're sharing there, John. So it's great stuff. Hopefully we get other brand stories to share on here someday. But yeah, last reminder, guys, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications for us, and check out one of our other videos, just kind of right over here somewhere. And we'll catch you next time, Modern Commerce. Bye-bye.